We've been tagged by another enchanted crystal arrow from Xuan P. And now we're about to get into game 2 between OMG and TOP. That guy was nailing shots all across the map. Absolutely massive accuracy in game 1. Clement's still stunned.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't that good the first time, so I was actually surprised you were going to start the segment with the second time around.
Exactly.
But he was amazing.
But we have to talk about this because OMG, we were saying, okay, they're finally trying to grow. They're bringing in Mountain. They're starting to move and do more things across the map. Then they brought in Xuan P.
And we're like,
contrary to the expectation of Chelly, who just had one of the best games of his entire life a few days ago, and suddenly it all makes sense.
Yeah, with that type of accuracy, it does. We originally expected Xuan P to actually be playing in as a bruiser role because he had a lot of expertise in terms of playing the jungle and playing the mid as well. This guy is not a purely AD carry, and he does master the off roles quite well. Yeah. So that could still be something that comes up in the draft. Yeah,
we'll have to see what that draft is going to be, though, because, again, TOP need to try to run it back. They came with a very clear strategy, scale and look for those team fights, try to use Marin as a pivot point around the map while the remaining 4 pressure elsewhere. But the moment he stepped up, Xuan P just nailed the arrow again, and like, they stuffed him right back.
I'm going to take map control into my own hand. That was what Marin was thinking about. He walks out into the river, gets tagged after a flash by an enchanted crystal arrow. That's how ridiculous that game was. But what I want to see from TOP is I want to see Marin come out with the cheese, because if you're going on the red side and you're giving Marin last pick, it really doesn't feel good to put him on Mundo. Yeah. Mundo's a great champion, fine. But
Renekton, Fiora, any of the champions he's made his name on.
Yeah, TOP, you guys are built around Marin. That's the only reason you gotta have him on your team, to play as the main carry. And I respect, you know, giving the AD carry a chance, giving the jungler a chance, and Mundo was the best pick for that composition, without a doubt. I called it myself. I said, okay, he has to go Mundo here.
Yeah.
But
not to toot your own horn.
Yeah, but I do want to see something else from Marin. I do want to see him go for something interesting, because so far he's been playing pure split pushers. He's showcased us the Spellbinder Cannon, which has worked wonders, and also the Aatrox, and of course he's known for playing the Teemo in High Challenger as well.
Exactly, yeah. So just a few weeks ago, we saw him climb to the top of Challenger in Korea with that Teemo. So where is that champion? Where is this Marin that's creative and the fighter and the dueler? Instead, he's sitting on champions like Mundo to fit towards the meta, which, hey, he's still an excellent player. He was able to get the flash and the stopwatch out of Xiong just through the laning phase.
Yeah, and that's the big point, because TOP do have the early phases of the game on lockdown. I think their level 1s are tremendous. I think they can follow up with it really well, but if you notice, they didn't pick a single lane to follow up with. And that's the thing I want to see them work on. If you have that level 1, you can play towards the top side, you can funnel all of your gold into Marin, and this guy will carry. Remember, his stats from spring were pretty insane. He was the most camped top laner by double the amount of any other top laner. He didn't even play that many games. So it was really spectacular to see that stat, and then see he's still winning in CS. So this guy's a tremendous laner. He's a tremendous hard carry, but you do need to give him the tools.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if TOP can actually do that, as instead, OMG, they've got the tools now, and they appear to be using them in the right way. They're still struggling a little bit with some of the problems that we predicted from the team. Their transitions into mid-game and 5v5 team fights are a little sloppy. But their setup looks to be a little bit cleaner. They're looking for picks more preemptively. I don't know if it's Mountain's shot calling or Xuan P able to hit these arrows and set up for the rest of the team, but something seems to be gelling for the new 5-man squad of OMG.
If you notice, they never had a problem with going all in. They always go. It's only a problem about when they should go. Yeah, that's the only big thing about them, man. They did pick a couple of wrong opportunities, chasing up the ramp, Mountain trying to do a creative split push, and then figuring himself caught on the miasma without being able to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, even Icon, after finding a skirmish, a dragon sits outside of the base cave on the north side of the map to try to find a pick, and then is forced to use 80 Spellbinder stacks, which is another 2 or 3 minutes of nothing.
So it's still a struggle for them. Like, OMG is the team that in this week we call them a team without a shot caller. Yeah, they clearly had no direction where they were going. They would call 2 objectives at the same time, and this is the reason that I think Mountain is a better fit for this team, because on AHQ he was known for very gimmicky shot calling. Now, the classical Mountain shot calling is after AHQ loses a person, 4 of them sit in a brush and wait for someone to walk by. And it's great because nobody expects that. It's risky, but if you look at HQ, they were always on the same page. They were always very good in team fights, and that's what I think Mountain does bring to the team. From his expertise.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw that exact same strategy used by a Royal Never Give Up, the best team in the world right now last night. So, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But still, we're hoping to see OMG try to clean these problems up as they continue to grow and transition. Again, we're giving them a little bit of leeway because they're playing with a new jungler, they're playing with a new AD carry, but at which point do we have to look at this team and say, okay, we can't give you any more leeway? Since you've lost SMLZ, you've been struggling to recover to anywhere near those heights, and you've got mechanically talented AD carries. It's got to be something else.
If you look at the entirety of the roster, OMG has the talent to be in the top 4 of the Western Conference. There's no reason they should be stepping at the bottom. Like, Xiang is really well known, has been playing for such a long time. Mountain's good, Icon's good. 5 is also tremendous on his recon plays as well. So it really is about chemistry and just kind of gelling for them. So since this is a new team, I give them until the cross conference. I think when the cross conference hits, they should propel themselves. They should be a top 4. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah,
Western Conference is not a particularly tough place. We have to be absolutely honest. It's not like the Eastern Conference, okay? So you're setting up Rogue Warriors, EDG, Snake, and possibly OMG. That's what we're looking for in the future. But
that's the question. You've already got TOP on that side of the bracket as well. So we'll see how this shakes out because, again, you've got some big names on the upper half of the bracket. Maybe WE will start to recover as well and start to make that climb back towards playoffs because they need to recover to at least 5th if they want to try to make a run towards Worlds. But that said, we've loaded into picks and bans for this game 2. TOP with side selection have chosen blue side. And look at that, Tom Kench banned away, Nocturne banned away from Mountain, and Graves banned away from TOP.
Yep, Graves is the best first pick in my opinion. It really is about picking junglers on the blue side right now. If we look at how TOP has operated though, they always give their first pick to their bottom side. It's either Alistar or Lucian. This is the way they like to play. So I would expect the same things coming out. Indeed, they do lock into the Lucian. Chocho himself has actually been quite tremendous in terms of the AD carries. He is a die-hard marksman fan. He's not going towards the bruisers, not going towards playing Karma or supports like that. He's sticking with his guns, I should say, on the Lucian.
Literally the 2 guns. But now OMG on the other side, they get the chance to pick around that. And we'll see what their answer is going to be as they round out for this next one.
Camille is still up. That's a very big
strong
pick.
Or Aatrox. Blind?
Aatrox is very blind pickable.
Okay, there you go. Rakan. Set up for a potential Xayah later on if Xuan P wants to stick with the marksman, or to set up for the strong engage, maybe Swain.
Xayah Rakan typically isn't the best answer to Lucian. Lucian does have a lot of mobility to get out of the way of the Blade Caller. So, you know, I think if it was me, I would kind of sit back and wait to see how this draft develops. If the enemy team gets a good support, it's actually quite hard to fight against. Now, Aatrox this early is... It does have its potential dangers. We have been seeing counter picks to it. Stuff like the Jax is very good into it. Darius has had a good time. We've seen that being played against Amazing J. I can't really remember who put the punishment onto him, but we have seen it being done before. And TOP, instead of getting Marin one of those counter picks, is going to sit and think a while, because, you know, Aatrox could be going mid as well.
Yeah.
They're just going to go with what they're comfortable with in Alistar and Lucian.
Might as well try to get as much information as possible out of the enemy team. Alistar, like you said, and now Xin Zhao locked in for XX. So OMG, you know, Swain is still open. Vladimir could be another follow-up for Icon if he wants to take that champion again, but OMG do have red side. I'm curious to see who they save that final counter pick for, if they continue to hold it for Icon and set him up in a strong mid lane.
I really like this
the jungle.
TOP draft, actually, because it can go both ways. They do have the disengage from Alistar and Xin Zhao, and they can kind of play in a meat grinder way, which is pure bruisers and everyone going in at the same time. So there's a lot of versatility in what they're drafting, and I think this is a good reason for them. It's a good fundamental pacing to do when you have players that are not known for having wide champion pools. You lower it down, you settle down on a shell that's comfortable, that can develop into multiple ways in terms of the draft, and this is what TOP has been doing for multiple games now.
So right now, the Jax ban tells me they're banning away Marin's champion pool against the Aatrox. Yeah, there's Xayah now being banned away. So first reflex is saying that this Aatrox is going top. It could go to Icon. We'll see if it does get flexed. But Marin, he's the fighter, he's the bruiser, and Aatrox is the guy who wants to be in-your-face trading all the time. Could we start to see the lead up to Marin's Fiora, Marin's Renekton, Marin's Kennen as an answer to that Aatrox, and see him put on his carry pants?
I do like.
Or will he go to the Singed Mundo, maybe?
Oh yeah, the Singed is fine. Like, I think they don't do much to each other in lane. OMG here going for the hyper carry option. We don't really know what Tren P's champion pool does look like. He was a tremendous Kalista player when we saw him in the LSPL, but that was a while ago.
Very interesting. Scrolling through a handful of champions right now as he gets to this last pick. As we said, he's played just about everything and then some. Locks in the Lulu now.
Ooh, a lot of flexing going
support,
on.
And yeah, like you said, a lot of flexing.
This could be a marksman Lulu as well. We have seen that being played. Isn't locked into mid lane immediately.
We'll see what TOP's answer will be to that, because like we said, there's still a lot of flexibility to OMG, how they can decide to round out this composition. As Aurelion Sol is locked in for TOP, the Celestial Star Dragon himself.
Now
Gets to make a showing here in the LPL.
Goon play this before, and it does work very well when you have a winning side of the map. You can just float over. You're always going to have to push.
And now that's the Kennen locked into the top lane for Marin. Well, he could take the Lucian. He could try to go for Huni's style.
That's true, but I don't expect it to happen. So there's a lot of different flexes they could possibly do here if they do go for the Yasuo, but we can talk about it after they do lock it in.
They're hovering back to this Tristana again. That's actually quite surprising.
That
with
makes
the Rakan Tristana.
Yeah, and Rakan going, of course, locked into the support position. So,
of course, yeah, that said, we have seen Tristana played mid.
Yeah, so OMG actually going for the more difficult to operate composition where they do need to kite backward a little bit. They do have most of their damage focused onto the AD carry in Tristana. And for TOP, they're running more of a full bruiser type of comp. I actually classify Lucian as a bit of a bruiser. You look at his item mobility, even though he doesn't fight in the front line, his build is pretty much a bruiser build. So TOP, they're going for more of a death ball. I expect the Kennen to go with AP. This is what we've seen Marin build before. And for OMG, they're actually playing a very different style. It's not catch this time. It's a lot of coordination between the pieces in terms of the 5v5. They need to weather the storm and then back out and then come forward again.
It's a difficult composition for OMG to try to run with, especially considering how the last one was so easy for them. Land an arrow, find a pick, find a kill, and take an objective. This time around, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that. That said, it will be easier for them to siege if they make it to the late game against TOP, who have one of the stronger early games of the LPL right now. So OMG perhaps pushing their team to the limit. They know they've got that one game lead over their opponents. Perhaps this is OMG trying to flex for more stage time, trying to flex with a new strategy.
I actually encourage most teams to do this. If you win the first game, practice your comps in game 2. Because a lot of what we've been hearing from the LPL, because we play a BO3, is that there isn't enough time for scrims. Stake said this in his big interview, and the case is actually a bit different in terms of the LCS, where they have a lot more scrim time compared to us. So I do think effective use of your game 2s when you've already won game 1 is really important, and it helps to grow the players up in terms of stabilizing their mentality.
So with that being said, though, OMG bringing out this challenging composition up against TOP. They're not the immediate favorites in terms of just the composition, but we'll see how it shakes out for them if they can recover. They've already got the support of the crowd. They've already got all of that mental momentum from the arrows Tren P was landing in game 1. Will it be enough to springboard them ahead to take the 2-0, or will TOP be able to retaliate and bring it to game 3? That said, we're about to load onto the Rift. The fans in Chengdu are as loud as ever. Let's hear it from them and see which of these two teams they're cheering on the loudest.
Should be OMG.
as expected, the OMG fans taking the victory in that cheering contest. But now we've got ourselves our defensive 5v5, and we've made our way onto the Rift. Marin with that cannon top taking Airy.
Yeah, pretty standard runes everywhere. I believe Marin does take a Taste of Blood just for a bit more laning sustain.
Oh, he's actually stepping up to Xiong. Eats the slice, but just trades back. His bone plating will fall off now for Xiong as he gets back into this lane, so already could be some early lane control. No invade this time out of out of TOP as they find themselves on the red side. And we're also not seeing an early push out of Goong just yet. Looks like he's going for standard CS while Marin keeps Xiong away from this minion wave.
Oh wow, that's just the most annoying thing to play against. Kennen with Brush, still as strong as ever. We do have to talk about the patch changes that did change his playstyle. You no longer gain resistances when you're outside of Lightning Surge. So it's much harder to just E up and then start attacking people. You do have to be a bit more tactical about that. And both of his AD and AP ratios were buffed overall. So less tankiness, but more damage.
Always a scary thing for Kennens, especially if they do go AP and build that Zanya's for the massive slicing Maelstrom hit. There in the mid lane, you can see some of the items for Chocho, taking that
Time Warp Tonic.
Time Warp Tonic.
I really like this build, actually. It's incredibly fast when traversing through river. You do see him taking the water walking as well.
Oh, Icon.
In trouble.
He's actually running in a straight line, flashes horizontally away to get away from XX, who shows up for that gank. It was buff to buff and then scuttle for XX, which I think was expected for that Xin. But look at the other side of the map. Mountain, he's also gone buff to buff, but he got a chance to clear out the Raptors, and now Xiong is forced to walk away from his tier 1 top.
Gonna lose the entire cannon minion wave. There's no way he actually moves back there. Yeah, Marin is stepping on his throat. This is huge.
Yeah, Xiong is getting absolutely denied up here. Uses Dark Flight to try to get back into range, but still, XX is right there. Mountain's going to try to make a gank happen bottom. Cat just used that headbutt. Flash knockup. Chocho is out of the way. What's the target going to be? Mountain eats some hits and is forced to back off. One summoner spell used by the TOP bottom lane.
Yeah, good dodge there from Chocho, actually flashing outside of Five's Battle Dance. So, able to get away.
That wave is going to push in, so he should be able to catch these minions as they crash into the turret, but Marin in the top lane, he's just not going to stop.
Yep, Xiong going in, procs his Conquerors on the same push, but doesn't really have the Bloodwell stacks for the extra attack speed right there. Goes away from the trade. I do like what TOP is doing at the start of this game, though. Remember we said that Marin should be the main carrier of this team. You don't really want to be running double AD after paying for his salary, to be honest. So they are going more towards his side.
There he goes. That's the Bloodwell coming up for Xiong. It's actually not popped. He's very low health. And
Here
look
comes
who's on the way.
Soul.
Goong is trying to catch up. There's no flash. Celestial expansion and Xiong goes down. Goong takes first blood.
And I'm actually a bit surprised that there aren't more players of Aurelion Soul. Like, if you think about the meta, he really does fit. He has easy wave clear from level 1 and on, and he can help you secure those Scuttlecrats, and he can influence those side lanes with just how the runes are set up. You think about Phase Rush, you think about Time Arc Tonic, and then you have Water Walking and Celerity as well.
Yeah.
That's a lot of movement speed.
It really is. So I have one counterpoint to that, and it's literally anyone that can get inside of his circle. Makes Aurelion Soul feel bad. Australian Soul, yeah.
Well, you do come from the OPL, so I'm not surprised about that. Yeah, Aurelion Soul, he is a bit of a fragile champion. You're talking about like the meat grinders type of play, but hey, if you can snowball the lanes enough, does it even really matter?
I feel like that's the big answer for most champions, though. It's like, hey, if you can snowball through it, you're fine. And just because we're in a snowball meta, it doesn't mean we should encourage it hands down. As a bit of trading in the bottom lane, gets Cat and Chocho some CS to try and keep Xuan P locked down, but already OMG find themselves off to a not great start this time. XX takes that second Scuttle Crab, the third to spawn this game after the first two. And still, Marin trying to dominate that top lane, even using that teleport. Mountain's trying to affect the map right now, but with Icon on a support champion, it's up to Xuan P and Xiong to be the hard carries for OMG.
So this is the interesting thing about Icon. He is mainly an assassin player, but in this split, we've started to see him go for the Lulu. This is actually the first 2 Lulu games he's played the entire year overall, and the reason is they want to have a better 5v5. They want to look for their team fights a little bit. But even though it doesn't really suit him, it's kind of his new style. We're seeing Goom try another time to go for the top lane. The CS score is already 23. Yikes.
Yeah, real scary. Xiong forced to walk back and sit under that turret. Now Mountain's on this side of the map. Scribe's Bloom was just used. Goom, is he going to hop over the wall? Mountain steps up to try and fight over the Krugs. Doesn't use the smite, so XX gets it and gets level 5. And again, this minion wave is just being outright denied to Xiong. He's going to find himself so far behind. Now half the CS of Marin, only 6-7 minutes in.
And Aatrox is not a champion that does well in team fights. It's a very stark contrast compared to Kennen, where one has the AoE CC and the other one can't even get into the fight necessarily. So this is going to snowball even harder for Marin at this point, and you can see it's spilling over into the topside jungle as well.
Yeah, now Mountain is starting to have to give away some of these camps. XX is getting close to level 6, while Mountain is only level 4. And this is starting to look like a dire situation for OMG. After such a great showing in Game 1, they're trying a different strategy in Game 2. Not off to a great start so far, but again, they do have a late game scaling composition with that Tristana and 2 supports. If they can put all of their eggs in the Xuan P basket, they can absolutely try and outlast TOP.
Yep. And there is a reason they went for the Tristana over other potential AD carry picks, and it is mainly because of the R that Tristana has, which can push Kennen away in a team fight. We've actually seen a great play from iBoy where he does that two-way Kennen and avoids the entire duration of the Maelstrom. So I understand that pick, but however, I will say it's going to come online very, very late. Even with the Tristana going for Blade of the Ruined King, it's kind of a slow build.
Well, that does mean Mountain gets his hands on the 4th Scuttle Crab, as XX actually will walk up and just take it away from him. Never mind. TOP are just running the gambit in this game. They are controlling the top lane. They are keeping bottom lane pushed in. They are tracking Mountain in the jungle. It seems like the only thing that's possibly going good for OMG is Icon CS. He's 9 CS ahead because he hasn't left lane, whereas Goom has. That said, what's the effectiveness of a Lulu compared to the effectiveness of an Aurelion Soul?
Not much. Not much at this point. Lulu is a team fight champion, basically. You're there to stun Xin Zhao when he comes in. Not stun, but turn him into a cupcake. Yeah. But otherwise, like, it's really just a sit and wait game for OMG at this point. Not much they can do. No wave control, not in the top side, not in the bot side.
So then we look to TOP. How do they continue to snowball this game? Is it just constantly tracking the top lane? As Marin's going to step up grand entrance. He's got Maelstrom. Flashes over the wall. Xuan P.
Can he get the
He's got the Buster Shop ready. There's the Maelstrom, but Marin walks away with just over 100 health.
Yeah, miscalculated. If Xuan P was able to land the W, the rocket jump right there, he could have gotten another reset and jumped again afterwards. It does count as a separate tick for
Procking the explosive shot, yeah. But that means the lane swap was delayed because they chased down those kills. TOP, Chocho, and Cat are able to push bottom.
Didn't get the wave at all.
And he's trying so hard. He's level 7. He's got stacks. Massacre, but like you said, he's got no stacks.
If they all in on him, he actually just dies.
He's got one. It immediately falls off, and he's forced to just absorb experience from the wave. Now 40 CS behind Marin. XX is actually going to step forward onto Mountain and force him to take aggro. And TOP are able to defend their top tier 1. Icon is just sitting mid lane with teleport.
That was a 2-minion difference. A 2-wave minion difference right there at 10 minutes. It's absolutely massive.
They found Marin again. He steps into the brush. Will he be able to escape? He's solo the auto attack. Mountain finally gets himself a kill for OMG. But that's going to get them some gold on the board.
And they're actually going to lose a tower for this. So a bit of a weird check from Marin. He actually had the Razor Shuriken, didn't use it at all. So Marin giveth, Marin take it away, actually.
Exactly, yeah. OMG doubling down on the same play. And it looks like it's about to pay off as the tier 1 could finally go down. Yeah, the minions finish it off for OMG's duo on that bottom side of the map.
I really like what XX did at the end there. He used the crescent swipe. It's like, hey, if these guys didn't read what Xin Zhao actually does, they might think that they can't put damage onto onto Kennen right there.
I know, I'll knock them back.
Crescent Swipe only works on yourself in terms of denying the damage.
Bit of a tragedy. But still,
Nice
XX
try.
has a lot of time to scale up. He's close to even with Mountain, level 7 to level 7, despite the successful invades from earlier. Xiang finally getting some much-needed CS. He doesn't even have an intermediate item right now. Still just sitting on core components for Boots 2.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Usually you see the Aatrox at this point. They do rush for the Tiamat and then go for the Titanic Hydra just to have a bit more wave clear. But he can't survive the lane, so he's going for the defensive option first.
Ooh, 5 steps up for a ward. Doesn't take the battle dance to Mountain. There he goes, using the quickness as well to get a stun onto Cat. But just trying to get some vision on Rift Herald, and he's immediately punished. TOP are on top of the draw this game. Seems like they've learned their lesson from game 1 and are running the gambit against OMG.
Ooh, 5 going back
steps
in again.
Up again. Yeah, you can't do that. Eats a hit, but no auto attack. Ooh! Breath of Light does not find him as he flashes over the wall in time. Rift Herald will be finished off now by TOP, despite the fresh teleport being completed from Icon to get to that side of the map.
It really is at this point about how fast can TOP snowball this situation. They have taken down the bot lane tower, they have the Herald, so can they get all 3 outer turrets before 20 and maybe pick up another 2 Drakes? I think that's a reasonable goal for them, and it's going to set them up so well into the late game. They don't want to contest later than they need to, because Tristana, whatever you say about crit itemization, she's still a monster late game.
Yeah. Absolutely massive damage. Cat and the rest of TOP looking for the top tier 1.
No
There's
flash
the Crescent Slash again. Grand entrance from 5. Hits a knock-up, but with Goom there, 4 members and Marin with his teleport up. OMG decide not to dive in. They don't have any completed items. The only one that's finished is the Luden's Echo for Icon.
OMG actually has no damage at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how they kill anyone, and Marin is very far ahead, should have his proto belt.
And was this just OMG drafting themselves into a hole? Like, did they pick this composition strategically, or did they see the comp from OMG and say, or TOP and say, we want to try something new deliberately? Come hell or high water, we're going to try it.
Honestly, my read is that OMG are trying with the Lulu comps. This is something that they're only trying in summer so far. They didn't really think about all the problems that could entail on it. This is something, when we talked to Steak about, he was lamenting about how fast the meta changes. When you run a composition, there's usually 10 or 15 things that could go wrong. And unless you run them enough times, you don't really know what those are. And for OMG, I think they figured out this game is that you have 3 lanes that lose incredibly easily. Like, Tristana's not going to have a winning lane early. Lulu's going to have trouble. You're running Trundle as well instead of Camille. And there's no pressure.
Oh, we've got a trap set up from OMG. The target is Marin. He uses the Maelstrom, a stun, stalls it out, but Marin goes down. Xiang on the wrong side. His Bloodwell will be popped. He's got Flash, but nowhere to go. Just decides to die on the back of it. 1-for-1 trade, but Marin is again stalled, and that's some gold going into Xiang's pocket. He's only 16 CS down right now.
Yeah, a lot of it was on Marin actually fumbling the top lane play where he face checked into a brush. And here we see another rotational error from TOP again, which was Goom probably did not need to go towards the bot lane. They actually had the kill without him, so a little bit unfortunate, but you know, that's kind of a rotation you have to make.
And that sort of mistake is costing him nearly his tier 1 turret. Icon and 5 are holding the wave now, but look at how little health it has. Just a few minions and a handful of auto attacks from anyone will finish that off.
Yeah, I should rephrase it. It's not really a Goon problem. It's more of a team problem in anticipating where OMG is going to go. If you're Aurelion Sol, of course you go to the bot lane, but factually speaking, that did open up a lot of farm to Shench MP and a lot of damage on their mid lane tower.
Now the Ocean Dragon is taken, and Xiang, he's actually caught by Cat. Gets knocked up, the stun is ready, he just flashes over the wall. Marin, he's back with his team, fresh out of the respawn, and they're actually going to try pushing this tier 2. Rift Herald is being summoned. They should be able to break it down because recall is only just now being completed from Xuan P. Already grand entrance in order to escape, and the tier 2 gets broken down. So TOP is still accelerating the pace of this game. They're still 3,000 gold ahead as, whoa, Herald gets...
Spazzes out a little.
Even Herald gets confused by minion pathing sometimes.
So this is a very deliberate decision from TOP, and by them taking down the second bot lane tower, what they're saying is that I want Marin to be a full-time split pusher with TP. We are confident in the lead he has in this game, and we're ready for him to set up Baron pressure in the future. Now, of course not now because Baron isn't up, but in the future, that's the play that they would like to see, and that's the reason they didn't put it mid instead, because 99 out of 100 times, if all 3 outers are still up, you put it mid, so.
Exactly. But instead, it's the mid-tier 1 that's still standing. Goong is trying to defend that wave as Xuan P with his Blade of the Ruined King pushes the wave back in. Jojo, about 25 CS ahead of Xuan P, is a phage up and trying to keep him busy, but still OMG just stalling this out. They made one good play by finding that dive onto Marin to stall out the push bottom. Just didn't quite last long enough to run out the timer on that Rift Herald. And now, as we get to the 16.5-minute mark, it's 3 turrets to 1, 3,000. And still OMG are trying to hold their ground.
I'm really curious on what Xuan P's second item is going to be, because this is the first time that we've actually seen a Blade of the Ruined King Tristana. We've seen Guinsoo first, we've seen Stormrazor first, but not Blade of the Ruined King. Blade of the Ruined King on its own is a great item, but it doesn't really synergize well with other things. So traditionally we would think of Tristana as a more crit-based AD carry, but I think if you're going Blade of the Ruined King first, you might actually consider the Guinsoo second.
We'll see if that's what Xuan P decides to go for. To just try and accelerate even more. Runan's Hurricane,
yeah,
Static Shiv.
If you go for crit at this point, it doesn't do much for you.
Knock up on the Icon. He doesn't panic. His cat steps up to try to defend the wave.
I didn't even want to talk about that because it was very clear that his team wasn't going to follow off. It's like, what are you doing?
He was just doing it to be a bully.
Yep. Putting the fear of God into OMG.
Exactly. OMG trying to push up in this mid lane, trying to finish off the tier 1. If they can break that down, that means the wave can push so much farther and allow them to keep safety vision around the river, as 5 is unable to defend that control ward. Xuan P's on the wrong side of this. Caught out by the sweeper. He rocket jumps away. Lucky he's able to escape.
Let him go.
Cat had flash. He had the headbutt pulverize.
Yeah.
Didn't go for the all-in.
If he caught him mid-air, you would actually stun him. Like, Tristana's only CC immune during the channel itself. So there was a very good chance he could just follow him with the E and then wait for the jump.
Meanwhile, Icon's bottom. Marin able to walk away from that Aatrox as Icon tries to get a gank, but here comes TOP collapsing. Goong flying in from the heavens. XX is slowed, needs a lot of damage. Flash engaged. Crescent Slash not able to find his priority target. That Star Surge misses, but the flash quickness knock up onto 2. They re-engage the fight. Cat goes in for the headbutt to reset.
Yeah, that was a really good play from Cat right there, because Goong already missed his Voice of Light, did not do anything, and it was about OMG finishing the fight and chasing in. But with that headbutt taking out Xuan P, there was no longer any engage, no Blade of the Ruined King proc to follow up.
That means everything stalls out. OMG were the first to make a play. TOP reacted, OMG reacted, and then TOP reacted again. And now it all fizzles out. 19 minutes in, still 3,000 gold ahead. Going up to 3.5 just off of the CS as Titanic Hydra finally finished for Xiong. Will he ever get the opportunity to split push against this Kennen? Like, does 6-item Aatrox beat Kennen?
Oh yeah, if you're going AP, your solo ability actually isn't that strong. Like, most of your auto attack ratios do come from the bonus 80 that was added into Kennen's kit. But for the time being, he's still fine. He's still ahead of him.
So then, could that be an opportunity for OMG later on if they commit instead to a 1-4 style and get that Aatrox split pushing and then bait out TOP's team fight?
That's definitely true. If it goes to the super late game, I actually think OMG does have a very good 4-1 composition. But, you know, games on average end 34 minutes, so it's kind of a toss-up.
That being said, our last game was 39 minutes and 45 seconds, despite OMG effectively setting the strategy from minute 15, minute 12, when we saw that first Enchanted Crystal Arrow. So it's a chance that TOP could fall into the exact same trap and not accelerate the game fast enough to break it down. Mid-tier 1 is still standing, and that's severely limiting TOP's ability to step into OMG's jungle.
And Kennen's not really split pushing that hard against Aatrox anymore. I think those 2 deaths really kind of leveled the playing field at this point, and TOP might actually be regretting that Herald placement into the bottom lane. If you don't get the split push, there's no reason you really want that tower instead of the mid tower.
And with that mid tower still up, it takes so much time to clear. Xuan P doing his due diligence Looks like it is Guinsoo's second. He's got Pickaxe and Amp Tome out of Xuan P, so that will get him lots of shred with that Blade of the Ruined King later on.
Yep.
And also ensures his scaling in these upcoming team fights. He's still only down about 30 CS behind Chocho, but is keeping up as...
Whoa! That was blind.
Cat, by the hair on his tail, is able to get out of this. Chocho actually steps up. Relentless Pursuit and Blade of the Ruined King onto Xuan P, but that Pillar of Frost prevents it. And now the second Ocean Dragon that you wanted to see out of TOP gets taken.
Bit of an unfortunate choice here. Another Ocean Drake will help Mara in the split push, but elsewhere, not really useful. Now, TOP, they really do need to pick up the pace at this point. They're going to have a very hard late game team fight to actually fight in. They're going to be walking through a Tristana, Buster Shot, and the Pillar as well. It's actually very hard for them to walk into OMG's composition.
That's a real tall Pillar catching Aurelion Sol while he's in midair. The wave is split pushed by Icon and denied by Mountain support stepping in. And despite TOP with the advantage, despite TOP with all incentive to fight right now and find some kills, snowball the game, it's in fact Mountain who's able to step into the jungle of TOP and stall out their rotation to defend against this minion wave. Again, it's a game of inches for OMG, whereas TOP, they're playing for the feet. They're playing for the meter.
TOP once again going for the big teamfight compositions, but not having the luck of the Drakes so far. You really want an Infernal Drake or a Mountain Drake early to force the other team to kind of commit to your 5v5 teamfight. But unfortunately, all they've got is Oceans, and OMG has said no to every single teamfight. OMG have set the 5v5s on their own term. They've been the one that have been grouping up first, and they've lost enough towers to the point that there really isn't much for them to defend.
Yeah, the mid-tier 1 is actually broken by OMG first. Now Baron has spawned, and red buff is being taken by OMG. Ward over the wall, Mountain is able to walk away with his life. TOP are just trying to lance forward, find an opening, find a crack in the armor of OMG, but they are unable to. We're at the 23-minute mark. We're getting closer and closer. Chocho has finished off his Black Cleaver, while Xuan P is getting close to finishing off Guinsoo's.
I think I know the plan here from TOP. If you look at the warding here, there's a very high chance they get a Marin flank. And that's the thing of wonders. That's what TOP
the teleport cannon.
Yep, that's how TOP won their 3 sets in spring, basically. Just Marin teleporting in the back. He is sitting on his 2-item power spike, and that ward was not discovered. It's still sitting there in the red buff.
There it goes. Now they see it. Oh, the blue ward from TOP buffing red buff. Yeah.
So, you know, I think TOP, they do have a potential chance to set this up. 2-item power spike, very strong. Blade of the Ruined King does help with Baron taking as well.
Rylai's also finished for Goong, so he's able to get some slow. Meanwhile, Trinity Force is getting close for XX. He needs his Sheen and the finishing gold to lock that down, as he's going to steal away the blue from OMG on this side of the map. There isn't too much else to take over here, so TOP are just taking what they can from OMG and finding these openings. Guinsoo's was just finished. However, Zeke's Convergence is ready for Mountain, and Guinsoo's is nearly ready for Xiong. So if they can survive for just a little bit longer, they can match TOP on that 2-item breakpoint, try to prepare for that upcoming team fight that TOP are looking for.
But at this point, it will be about the minion waves. What we're seeing about losing your second bottom tower is that your split pusher can actually walk towards Baron without using a teleport. And if you repeat that play, you actually do force a teleport advantage here. So we do see OMG instead, when they see Kennen in the bot lane, they are very proactive in securing the Baron vision. They do know the play that TOP is trying to throw at them, and they're actually counteracting it quite well here.
Yeah, it's good to see this proactivity out of OMG. You can see constant conversation coming out of Icon, Mountain, and 5 in your player cams right now. The big voices for the team trying to lead them to victory against TOP. But look at that gold difference. It's only down to about 1,500 gold between the two teams after TOP opened up so much of an advantage. OMG, slowly but surely, they're scaling up. They're catching up.
And they did make use of their teleport ward as well. So they're going to have another go at it. Really find a good anchor point for Marin to go in. And that's such a smart OMG ward as well. It will catch out whenever they do start to take Baron. It should catch some of the auto attacks thrown from outside of the pit.
Oh, Mountain flashing away just in time. Good reaction in order to escape Cat, but now that's one big summoner spell gone. What can TOP get with this?
The cool thing here is Mountain does find out about TOP's anchor, the warding for Marin to come into the fight. So instead, TOP, now with all of their members grouped, decides to just brute force the mid lane.
Mid tier 1, target is XX. He uses that Crescent Slash, goes in, and he's able to find the kill on 5 before he backs out. Teleport completed from Xiong to try and defend this tier 1. He's got good wave clear with the Glitter Lance and the rest of his team. Slow lands on Chocho. Cat's there behind them. Flash knock up. Only finds one. Xiong's the target. Marin dives in. Bloodwell's not ready for Xiong. Culling is not enough to finish him off. Meanwhile, Mountain doesn't have any way to get away from this. Gets tagged by the first star.
Speed, but should be stunned.
Oh, there's the slow. Goong finally locks him down.
I would say that was a bit of a perplexing play coming out from 5. There was actually very little chance of him killing XX from the start of it. And when they started the fight, it was a 5v4 scenario as well, so giving an opening for TOP.
Yeah, they're looking to the Baron right now. 26 minutes in, Mountain is dead. That smite is gone, and XX is auto-attacking his heart out. Icon steps up with Chuan P to look for the steal. Ward over the wall, 3,000 health.
There is no
Will
smite,
they
though.
be able to get it?
Glitter
Lance is close. Closer than it should have been. But they are able to secure it. Knock up on the Chuan P. 5 goes back in again. Knock up, and Chuan P's got a double. He's actually got a reset as he chases forward. That's a flash. Marin is the target. And again, he's able to find that kill. He keeps going. 5 is tanking it, but Chuan P looking to chase. 5 gets the quickness, but is not able to catch up. TOP get the Baron, but lose it on 3 members.
Yep, and the gold does swing back to OMG a little bit, still down 4K, so overall still a bit in TOP's favor. But I think that was a bit of a mistake actually re-engaging at this point. They did tag on to Cat. They could have sacrificed Cat, to be honest.
That's
let him go.
A really odd place for Chocho to be. He's trying to collapse onto Icon and 5 right now.
Yeah.
Won't catch them. Interesting. Just steals away the red buff, but OMG takes the Inferno off the back of that.
They actually might take the top tower. Yeah, I think they're going to take the top tower. There's not enough people to rotate fast enough. So this is the weird play, 5v4 scenario. Obviously, Lulu doesn't want to use the ult on 5 just yet, saving it for the AD carry instead, and he just goes in and dies. So I think that was a really weird call from 5. I think it was just another case of OMG not being on the same page, and they actually get a bit lucky here. They did not lock down Trin P, and only 1 stun got thrown from Marin. Mountain, of course, paying the price with his life.
Separated from his team. So close, yet so far. Like you said, that top tier 2 finally broken down, so it's about 3,500 gold between the 2 teams. Trinity Force completed for XX. Zanya's finished off for Goom, and even Essence Reaver has been finished off for Chocho. OMG are still using this opportunity to push against the Baron of OMG and break down that bottom tier 1, equalizing the gold just a little bit.
I think at this point in the game, OMG actually have a stronger teamfight combination, but it's about, do they really understand how to use it? So the proper way to plot this teamfight out is you have Trin P standing in the front, shooting at people. He does have the range advantage, and then when people try to come in at him, you use the Buster Shot, you stop them with the Pillar, and even if they make through that, then you use the 5 as the CC, the AoE, to lock everyone down. But OMG are sending 5 in first, and he's not getting a lot done. So I do think OMG technically should have the advantage in terms of the team fight at this point. I'm not confident they know how to use it.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get the chance to learn in this one, as Infinity Edge has now been picked up by Chuan P. So he's going to start doing some big damage with these hits. But there's actually a bannered Baron cannon minion pushing up into that mid lane. Chuan P's actually managed to tag aggro. He's chunked down by the culling to about half by Chocho. The mid tier 2 will be cleared out by TOP off the back of that.
That's such a weird Infinity Edge buy right there.
It absolutely is.
It gives you 0 crit chance.
Mountain uses the pillar, doesn't get the cannon minion. It's working down the turret. He tries to get in range for smite, but it's just going down single-handedly, bringing down the turret. 15 seconds on the Baron buff. OMG, they've got to draw the line somewhere, but the turret's already gone down. The inhibitor will be a short victory afterwards.
I'm actually fine as OMG giving this inhibitor away. The mid lane inhibitor isn't really that important, and you can see Aatrox already going to the bot lane. They know they can't contest this. It's pretty much gold funneling for Trin P at this point, and as long as they don't take a second inhibitor, I think OMG's pretty happy with this, if the outcome of the Baron is simply one in him.
Yeah. At the very least, that tier 2 and now the inhibitor off the back. 31 minutes in, OMG still scaling with this team fight composition. Like you said, they might be ready to fight, but will TOP give them the chance to? As, yeah, there's the Brawler's Glove from Xuan P. Doubling!
Oh, wow.
That 20 strike chance. Whoa! What statistics?
So I believe you need about 20% crit for IE to be like gold efficient on itself.
He's looking for the Zeal.
Yeah, he will build it. It's just it's a really weird way to see that being set up. If you want the AD, a lot of times what marksmen do is that they put the BF sword in their inventory and then finish the Zeal before they go back to the IE. But you know, I mean, IE is just such a massive gold sink at this point. It's pretty curious to see him build this way.
Yeah, very fast. Rush for that item build. Meanwhile, Icon going for his own Rabadon's Death Cap to amplify his damage by that much more. But still, that first Infernal Dragon was taken by OMG. The next one will be spawning shortly. Marin is trying to split push right now, while Icon deals with a massive minion wave on the top half of the map. Xuan P is locked down mid, dealing with supers. And with Baron coming up in 2 minutes and the Infernal for another 2, TOP are just looking to keep OMG locked in their base.
So this time around, TOP no longer have their own Baron buff. So I think OMG can defend this successfully. And indeed they do, even though they expend 1 teleport.
Top will still be pushing into them a little bit. Looks like it might. Could actually be close. And Xuan P is absolutely close enough to just walk over to the mid lane and clear out that next minion wave.
I'm going to make a prediction, but I don't think TOP can finish this game by sieging. What they really need is a flank coming out from Marin, where they can catch out P and kind of sandwich him into a close corridor or something like that.
Get the full Maelstrom damage.
Yeah, pretty much. Or else he's just going to be knocked away by the Buster Shot. There's too many obstacles in his way for that. So I like what TOP are doing now. They're taking the battlefield away from the siege, more into the red side jungle, setting up some, you know, backline wards for Marin to teleport to.
Yeah, and Baron's coming up in now 60 seconds, so this is the big recall from TOP to prepare for that next big objective. With Super Minions still pushing down in the mid lane, this could be the opportunity for TOP to try and find that flank. As Xuan P, he's now got that Zeal, even more crit chance, but still not quite up to where he wants to be yet. Though he will do big damage in these fights. Will it be enough? Right now, TOP looks like they're setting up around the Infernal Dragon first.
And they want to take things slow. There's no way OMG actually knows which side of the map they are on. They've been pushed into their own base for a long time. This should be a free Infernal Drake, even with just one member taking it.
Marin's bottom right now, split pushing Chocho, trying to see if he can bait anyone else down there and find that kill as the wave is pushed in. Instead, he's just going to finish off that dragon. That does give an opening to OMG to get some vision on the Baron on the other side of the map. It spawns, and instead they're pinging towards the mid lane to trying to defend it while Chocho clears out this Infernal Dragon and Marin split pushes. Plus, Xiang has his teleport.
I actually don't think they should have dropped their wards right there. They were a bit slow on the rotation, so what happens is that what Marin is doing right now, he realized that he has the inner track, he's fast enough to deny it, and they're forcing OMG to go straight for the Baron. So what OMG should have done was clear out the vision and then just leave immediately. I don't think dropping the wards down there was a smart choice. They are actually losing a lot of gold for it.
Yeah, it's a real slow teleport. Or sorry, recall from Xiang to get back to base and defend that inhibitor turret. And now it's very easy for TOP to walk in and clear out those wards.
Yep.
For OMG. Still though, Marin is just trying to be that pressure point on the other side of the map.
OMG sort of underestimating the speed at which TOP could rotate. It does cost them quite a lot of gold, and time for that matter.
It's actually a bit of an odd position. Now the inhibitor looks like it's respawning with this current wave. Yeah, that's the Pillar of Frost. Xuan P is over the wall to get away.
That's very fast reactions. If Boom caught him stunned right there, he would have died. And that probably would have ended the game.
And there is no QSS or cleanse, but OMG turning on to the Baron. They've got a line of vision. They've already got it down to half. Cat steps up. That's teleport coming in from Marin. He's got the Maelstrom. Flash.
Sindel's already in.
He's into the pit, but it's a late smite, and it's secured by OMG. Do they fight or do they leave? That's the culling, and they are out of the pit. OMG find the opening in TOP's offensive and take the Baron buff.
weird series of events right there. Like, I'm not sure why TOP needed to back out of the Baron pit. They had the stronger teamfight position. There was a lot of teleport possible wardings for them to go into the fight. But they got kind of scared. They were waiting for OMG to just walk into one of their traps. And when they didn't, they just flat out gave Baron.
And now OMG with that Baron are 2,000 gold behind TOP. Runans has been finished for Xuan P, so he is absolutely ready for these fights. Marin is actually behind OMG right now. He's got himself a flank opportunity. Still sitting on that Maelstrom, though he doesn't have teleport. Mountain walks up. He sees that cannon now. And Marin immediately turns and backs around. Pillar of Frost, but he's got no way out of this. It's going to be a late Maelstrom if he wants to use it now. Quickness was used, but 5. Doesn't get the chance to go in as it falls away. Xiong joins the fight. Culling goes in, but they've killed off Cat. Chocho is going to flash away after he headbutts back. Goon goes in, and they get the kill on the mountain, but Xuan P flashes in. He goes way deep, but he gets a double kill. Looking for Goon, but doesn't find him. Instead, it's a triple as he turns and gets the quadra on the back of the fight. 4 kills to the new AD carry of OMG. Goon, the sole survivor. As all they had to do was sit back, wait, scale, and look for the team fight. That's exactly what happens, and now OMG are pushing for the win.
TOP actually had the better position. They were sitting on top of a ramp, and they had the cannon flank as well, but they decide to back off. The moment they see the enemy team coming in, they gave so much free damage over to Xuan P. And
he goes golden, but there's no chance. The knock over and the finish off. 7-0-1. Xuan P, the new marksman for OMG, carries them to victory in not 1, but 2 games back-to-back.
And look at this, Xuan P can't even believe it. Like, Icon is laughing to himself. He's like, wait a minute, why did they run away? TOP, they were 5-man stack. They had Kennen in the right position. And they didn't go for it.
Yeah.
They waited for Aatrox to come in, and by then they already lost 2 HPs. 2 HP bars at that point. So
they found themselves waiting for a signed invitation from OMG, and as a result, they never got invited to the party in the first place.
Yeah, like, if you're in that position, what you want to do, I understand that TOP needs to rush down, in a sense, so the ramp might not be in their advantage, but they are still looking at a 5v4 play. And you take as many of those as you can get.
Absolutely.
Instead of, like, running away, because running away did not do them anything. They didn't have the ability to run away, basically.
And just because of that, OMG get to take a bow now, finding another win here in the LPL.
It was a good showing from OMG, but a perplexing last 5 minutes from TOP, actually just giving away the game in a lot of senses.
And that will bring them to 2 and 3 in the standings. And yes, it was a perpixelated series of events. Can't really make out what it was. Hopefully we'll get our analyst desk to enhance and figure out what exactly went wrong for TOP, because they identified they had the strength in the early game, just like in game number 1. They knew they were against a scaling composition. They pushed their advantage. They got the Baron buff, but they just couldn't make the decisive call to fight when they had the opportunity, and it swung back against them.
OMG hesitated a few times by from collapsing on, TOP hesitated a few times to collapse on OMG close to the Baron pit. And just look at that gold graph. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
They were in the lead the entire way, but in the last 5 minutes, gave up Baron in a fight that they had a fairly good chance of actually winning. It feels like they didn't even try necessarily. Like, if you're put in a bad position, you have to fight through it no matter what. Yeah. And they were put in a good position, and they didn't fight.
You gotta start asking some questions about TOP. You know, they tried to play with Marin as a pivot point. It didn't really work so much. He was able to push and keep Xiong occupied. He was able to bully Xiong in lane. Marin did everything that he needed to for his job, but there's just some critical driver piece that's missing for the team. The car is assembled and it's ready to go. There are just no keys.
They don't have the shot calling to bring everything together, and that's what's missing from TOP. They can have these great early games, but unless they're super far ahead, they can't close. So a bit of a disappointment from there. I was hoping for a closer series, a big 5v5 team fight where they're going to head-to-head. Never happened.
Yeah, well, that was OMG taking the victory in Chengdu. To break down their win, let's hear from our analysts.
Thanks, guys. Great cast of the day. Now, a reminder, before we break into this game, it will be about an hour-long break before we begin our match of the week over in Xi'an between Team WE and Edward Gaming. This is, of course, due to the fact of the live audiences. It's a set match, so because it's not played back-to-back in Shanghai, there's no live audience to watch it here, so we're waiting for the live audience there to enjoy it in Xi'an. So do not go anywhere. We're going to break down the game. It's going to go to about probably a 50-minute break, and then we'll be bringing you the action for that match of the week. But Raz, that last game, again, another carry performance from the ADC, and on the pick that you just brought up, but in a very different way, in a very different build.
And a different team as well, because it was Chocho that brought in Tristana the last time we saw win his victory versus WE with a different build. You're right, because in that build, in that game, it was that one item power spike. He wanted to hit it early, wanted to be able to take advantage of the early game. This time around, it was based off of the Blade of the Ruined King build, and then he wanted to do the on-hit. Now, when it comes to solo queue, there's a lot of differences in terms of styles you want to be able to go towards it. If they want to have the late game Tristana, then they do go Blade of the Ruined King on-hit into Guinsoo's Rage Blade. I didn't like the Infinity Edge as a third item, and I know there's a problem for this one because 77% is the gold value that you get out of it because the passive is useless. You just essentially get the 80 AD. So what I would love to see him do is get the BF swords, because the recipes are actually really nice for Infinity Edge. Get one, maybe two BF swords. I know at this point you're just kind of running a little dry with your item slot, but one BF sword, then you can get a Runan's Hurricane or Rapid Fire Cannon, and then finish your Infinity Edge, and you could be scot-free.
Now, the thing is last time we showed this graphic, and you just explained the build path right there, it was the Storm Razors, because we were talking about, you know, the issue with the crit ADCs, that they take too long to scale, the crit has lost a lot of value on 8-11, but by going the Storm Razors for Tristana, and having, you know, that immediate access to stats, she has kill pressure in lane.
Yep.
And we were kind of going back and forth. Can you kind of walk me through the mentality of why, in this instance, did he reach for a Blade of the Ruined King? I wanted to combine Guinsoo and Bork into one word, as well as a Rage Blade, versus going the Storm Razors, which has been pretty much the standard for LPL Triss.
You say standard, I'd say just because we've only seen a few games, so one of them was this Chocho. This time around, what Blade of the Ruined King builds is, I'd say, you're going to keep Blade of the Ruined King. With Storm Razors, if you don't get the value out of the first item, you're essentially going to sell it as you build up your rest of the game. This time around, you have the sustain, especially in the early game when you don't have the ability to just go towards the rune choice in the precision tree, because that got nerfed out recently. So then, right then and there, since he went lethal tempo, you get the sustain of the early Vamp Scepter and laning phase, and Blade of the Ruined King, a few people actually end up going with the Bloodthirster later on in the game, so you just have full on hit lifesteal as you go on. This time around, he went into the crit route, so that would be the reason.
Okay, interesting. Now, we do have the Quadra kill at the very end, because while this game was a lot about P, he wasn't the only one who was doing some of these interesting build paths. I believe Icon also went Luden's Athene's Death Cap as the Lulu. So the big thing that's missing there is the Ardent Sensor. And we were making the joke that this is just, you know, Icon's type of style, but even all day, I mean, in game number 1, we had an Essence Reaver Nocturne. It feels like people are prioritizing their individual stats rather than working cohesively as a team.
So this is when I'm just going to burn the man right now, Icon, because he's known for picking his style, picking his champion. A lot of it comes to whether he's going to support the rest of his team. I know Lulu in the LPL before who's actually had this problem. His name was Pawn, now in the LCK, and it comes down to, look, I understand your style is you want to prioritize what you're strong at, but Lulu is supposed to support the Tristana. Get an earlier Ardent Sensor. The AP is another thing where it's fine as long as you're with your AD carry to support him. But why are you in the top lane? Why is Aatrox with your team? There was a lot of
weird split push Lulu with Aatrox having TP up and available, and yet Aatrox is mid lane and Lulu is top.
There's just the allocation of manpower on this team is so weird when you get into the mid game. But they ended up finally getting the resources onto Tristana. TOP made a few mistakes already. They got a free Baron, so it was okay. But when they go up against a better team, they really do need to start putting Xiang in a proper position. He had it rough earlier on. Give him a proper lane so he can farm up and get experience on, because you want him to be split pushing.
Okay, so some wonky lane matchups and some wonky build paths, but ultimately it was OMG that were able to stall out the game long enough. And again, it happened, or it was teed off with this Quadra kill at the very end of the game. P going massive over the wall.
Schwan God, honestly. Like, game 1, the guy went off. Game 1 was fabulous just off of the Ashe arrows that he was about to get time again. And then, of course, here he comes, slowly pushing forward. Best thing is that he's able to use the reset on his jumps to get a flank one towards XX. Of course, XX was Xin Zhao, so he gets up close and personal. These two champions are squishy. It doesn't even matter that he didn't even see Kennen hiding in the mists. But he just flashes in, gets the kill. Nice pose, man. We're going to be seeing that more often.
And man of the match, back-to-back MVPs for OMG. And we talked about how this is the resurgence of OMG. We're talking about names like Mountain, like Xiang, like Icon. No one was honing in on either Chelly or Xuan P. Pulls out the Ashe in game number 1, and he pulls out the Tristana in game number 2.
I like what Clement said in game 1, where he said that, you know what, RNG is a gracious team. Handing the other teams in the LPL their AD carries. Y4, you can go to LGD. Xuan, I heard OMG's having problems. We'll hire you out. So
they're putting them in the boot camp, just like the hyperbolic time chamber, cranking them out.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. Xuan has had a ton of experience throughout the time. And even though we've judged him very heavily throughout his tenure in the LPL, it's because he's been, honestly, time and time again, compared to legends in the AD carry spot. So he's been working with Mata, working with Hart, I mean, right behind Uzi. So now you can finally give him a team.
Forged by Samsung.
There we go. And he got that scroll of Ashe as well. So at the end of the day, he's now on OMG, here to forge his own legacy.
So at what point, like, again, I asked you this question previously on the podcast about where you would rank Suning. So if let's say let's go Vici. If Vici are 0, and
there we go.
Invictus Gaming are 10
yes.
in terms of our scale here, keep up with us. Where are OMG now? Because they used to be, I would say, probably a solid 3.
Yeah.
Maybe pushing on a 4.
Here's the thing. Ultimately, I'm going to call them 5 to a 6. I'll say 5.5. I think they can if they get everything in order. They are a 6 to 17. Like, that's their potential for me. A lot of the questions...
Playoffs.
Yes, because a lot of teams are pushing up. So if you look towards the Western Conference, right now the challenge is going to be specifically around Team W is falling short.
Ultimately, if you do look at that conference, and we have our banners on the side of our arena, which is why I'm looking off to the side here, you got Edward Gaming, Rogue Warriors, Snake. And so from there, you're like, okay, those are probably your 3 that are slotting into the positions. So then it's a toss-up between OMG, Team WE, and FPX. And we're going to get to see all of those teams play later on today.
And I think it's going to come down between them and FPX if the trajectory goes down.
You killed Team WE?
I'm saying trajectory because Team WE still needs to show that they have some life within them. Losing quite a few games so far. And remember, the summer split's long and they have a lot of games to still play. So WE can still find some consistency and some strength there. And we may see them surge up, but losing games matters.
So it's simply just the difference between OMG making playoffs versus Team W or FPX. That FPX and OMG have bite for you right now that Team WE have just laid over and died.
Oh my god, I mean, look here. It may seem dire because it's week 2 and we're looking at a lot of bad stuff.
Burn it all!
That's why we do have to have regular checkups week 3, week 4 of what W is looking like, because I do, like, my predictions are burning because I still give WE a lot of faith there. I'm throwing WE a lot of predictions there.
That's true. You did pick WE.
So I think WE will get better. OMG right now in a head start, but WE still have talent that will push their weight. So I want to see what's happening. Currently I have OMG and FPX looking pretty good for themselves. And
then coming into our match of the week, since we have a little bit of time to do a bit of a preview, I know Clement will also be joining us for that. And again, it will be happening in 1 hour over in Xi'an to accommodate for the local audience in a massive arena, 1,000 strong, the largest home arena that we have in the LPL. Shanghai one's only about 500.
Yeah.
Like, what is your big takeaway? Like, sell me this match, because again, we now have been talking about Team WE and how they're bottom of the table right now. They're not doing very well, and yet we still pick them for our match of the week. Is it just the caliber of the names that this is effectively the TSM CLG of the LPL? Yes, but also because you still see it in the players. Like, one of the biggest and most unfortunate things with WE is when they come into these games, you still see incredible highlight plays. In fact, when you have these highlight reels pushed on YouTube about, you're like, hey, you know what? 957 had an incredible Jax play, but they still lost the game. Gentle and Missing looked incredibly in lane, but they still lost the lane. But did you see Lee Sin kick? That was so that one
sick.
Highlight from Condi.
Right, and Condi and CI are looking incredible, but they still lose the game. So these players for WE will have highlight reels. They will have incredible performances, but the real question is if they can take the win. Versus EDG, as a spoiler, I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that they're on the upward trajectory.
That's part of the segment, Raz. You're not supposed to just give it away
hey,
like
you know
that.
what? We have Clement. He's going to sell it for you.
Okay. Well, you heard it from Raz. He thinks that Edward Gaming are going to win, but we're going to find out in around 50 minutes. We're accommodating for the Xi'an, local audience. Speaking of Xie,
there we go.
It will be our match of the week, Team WE versus Edward Gaming. We'll see you on the other side.
想要征服他人，必先战胜自己。EDG 的队名就是鞭策我们的动力。